You're watching CatRoom.
Hello.
Hi, CatRoomians.
We didn't say, I just noticed in the last episode we didn't say the episode number.
It's okay.
This is 17, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is episode 17 of CatRoom. Today we're here with my therapist, Gail.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about some cool stuff. Gail's going to tell you about some stories. And you studied theology in college, right? After college?
After college.
Did you study it in a class or just on your own?
3 years. Seminary.
Oh, wow. And you studied the theology of Christianity or just religions in general?
No, I went for a seminary degree, so it was a Master's of Divinity. So it was based on Christianity. But
Cool.
I have studied world religions in my BA.
I'm gonna ask some burning questions about various topics, and I am just truly excited to see the way that me and Gail interact in this episode, because I have a very smooth brain and I'm ready for cracks to be formed. I'm ready for new cracks to be formed, guys.
Interesting.
And I'm grateful that you're here.
Well,
Yes.
I'm honored to be asked, but I have to correct something, Yohan. I'm not a therapist. I'm a pastoral counselor, and there's a huge difference.
Okay.
Because therapists usually work with mental health, mental illness, depression, those kinds of things. You know, that's not what I do.
Okay. Makes sense.
Gail, set you straight.
Okay, so do you want to ask the questions first?
I could. My. You know what? Yeah, I'll ask a question, and then if you have like a story, or if we go on a tangent, tangents are encouraged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay. So, I have a question because I know that we're in a holy place. And me personally, I'm somebody who watches a lot of movies. I watch a ton of movies. And one thing that I've noticed is that, you know, like clockwork, or like almost, it's like low-hanging fruit. A lot of movies incorporate, especially horror movies, incorporate an image, or the image of what they interpret Satan to be.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you what you thought of the Antichrist or Satan is interpreted or is shown in media, specifically like horror movies.
They tend to show the darker side, and he was actually the highest created angel. So he's really beautiful, and that's why he can appear as an angel of light. And that's why he's also so deceptive, because people can be fooled into believing that he cares about them when he really wants to destroy them.
That's cool. I feel like a cool horror movie that depicts the devil like that, that'd be a cool, interesting, and truthful concept.
And that would be a cool concept. On that same vein, in my life, and, you know, tell me if I'm wrong in feeling this way, I've met some of the most persuasive, smooth talking, just pretty, like absolutely almost perfect seeming people, and they end up having really malintentions. They end up, you know, it's starting with all love, and then my discourse with them a while later will end with, you know, I hope you never achieve success. At every checkpoint, I'm going to be there and ruin you. And like, it's, you know, it's people out there, and that person was once they seemed like, you know, they brought a light into the room. Is that the devil? Is that like the devil inside a certain person?
People can be disingenuous. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
Disingenuous means that they want you to believe what they're selling, but they really have malicious intent, or they really have selfish intent. Maybe not malicious, but selfish, and they tend to tell different people, different stories because they're disingenuous. And so it doesn't really matter what they tell you because it's whatever they need to tell you in that moment. Selfishness is the base of that. And selfishness is thinking that you don't need God and you're greater than God and you know better than God. So in that sense, it is demonic because it comes from sin, and it comes from rejecting God's truth for our lives.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. I want you to talk about this analogy that you told me about. It's the analogy with the thread that you're saying, following the thread.
Yep. For God's will for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't in the Bible.
Right.
This is just how I've come to understand God's will for my life, and it helps me explain it to someone else, because a lot of people say, well, how do you know God's will for your life? How do you know God's will for your life? And the first answer to that is always whatever is loving, whatever is right, whatever is true, because God can't do anything against whatever is loving, right, and true. He is loving, right, and true. But the thread analogy that Yohan is referring to, so we're on the thread theory, and it's really a string. It's not really a thread. You got to make it more like a string.
Okay.
But so if God's will is discovered as I walk with Him, it's like a string that you're following. And sometimes it's buried, sometimes it's under a rock, sometimes it's tied up in a tree under roots. Sometimes it's just straight out on the ground and it's just easy and you see it for miles and it's just straight and it's perfect. Sometimes it has notes on it and it says sit, wait here. Sometimes it says go do this, right? So you just keep following that string, and as you follow that string, you discover what God wants for you.
Yeah.
You know, my father tells me.
Yes, the string did bring you here.
Yes. And that's beautiful. Twice.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Brought me to this room.
That's cool to imagine.
My father says this thing. He says that young people have no ability to look around the corner. You know, hindsight is always 20/20, but my father's always said that young people have a especially hard time looking around the corner. You know, in terms of thinking things are bleak, or, you know, maybe panicking about where their life is, but, you know, you never know what's coming next. I like to think that, you know, I feel the thread analogy as well, especially, you know, when I pray, and just in general recently in life, I felt like when I view life as something that it's a path I'm going down, and it's something I'm sort of following and not straying away from, and it's like a journey. Things are a lot clearer. I think it becomes a lot easier to look around the corner, unlike what my dad says, you know.
Okay, I got a story for you.
Oh, yeah?
On the topic of being able to see around the corner. My mother was getting up in years, and my mother, without traffic, lived 40 minutes away from me. With traffic, it could be 2 hours. And she had already fallen once and broken her hip in the parking garage and had laid there until someone found her. And I was having a conversation with the Lord, and I was like, Lord, how am I going to, she calls me, and she doesn't call 911, and it takes me all this time to get over there, and how am I going to take care of her, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was walking my dog, and in my neighborhood, the blocks are pretty long, and I was about halfway in the middle of the block. And the Holy Spirit said to me, he said, Gail, can you see around the corner? No, sir, I can't see around the corner. He says, well, if you can't do something as simple as see around the corner, what makes you think you can take care of your mother? Okay, so it's his job to take care of my mother. So then you fast forward, and everything my mother needed was there for us when we needed it. He took care of her until her last breath. But he was trying to tell me, I can't worry about something when I can't even do something as simple as see you around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I have to walk with him and do what I'm supposed to do and trust him for the rest of the story.
Right. Yeah, I always tell myself that too. That's like, you can't. There's things you can't control in life, and most of the time, it's the things that aren't in front of you, which is a lot of things. So, you just gotta leave it up to God.
And if if all of us are doing the best that we can do in this moment, that's really all there is.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not promised, you know. People think, oh, I'm going to live to be 85 or 95. No. Look at they had an airplane crash last night at 9 o'clock. 67 people were gone. One of them was an ice skater. How young was she? I don't know. Or he? I don't know. I don't know if it was a male or a female, but it was a figure skater. Her career, gone. Her, gone. So she got on that plane thinking she was going to land in Washington and go to a competition or whatever it was she was going to do, and she didn't even make it to the runway.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So we trust God, we do the best that we can do, and if we continuously do the best that we can do in the moment, in the now, then tomorrow's going to be in a better place. But if I'm making bad decisions in the now, how can I expect a good outcome down the road?
I understand that.
You just have to trust
Mm-hmm.
Trust whom?
the Lord.
You don't have to, but those of us who do have a better life.
Mm.
Doesn't mean we have a perfect life or an easy life, but we have someone who's on our side and someone who has unlimited resources
Mm.
and loves me.
Make sure you put the mic a little. There you go. That's very true. I feel like imagine being able to go into a supermarket, and then the manager is like, you can have anything in any of this supermarket, and as soon as you take it, I'll put it back on the shelf, and you can take it again, and I'll put it back on the shelf. And then he's like, and then the manager's like, but you can only take what you can carry. Use it, and then come back, and you can take more.
Exactly.
Basically
Good
what
analogy.
That's a solid analogy.
it is.
Well, what did we talk about Sunday? We talked about the suitcase, right?
Yeah.
And Miggs wasn't there. Miggs, there's a suitcase in front of you, and it has your name on it.
Okay.
What are you going to do with it?
Do I oh my gosh, I'm so sorry if I ask too many questions. do I know about the suitcase prior, or is it like I just see it and it has my name on it? Like I don't know about this.
And it has your name on it.
I'm gonna ask around if there's any other Miguels.
No, you're the only Miggs in this room.
Right here, right now.
I guess I think I'd really make sure it wasn't anybody else's, and then if time passed, and I'd take a look inside.
Okay. And when you open it up, it says, Miggs, everything that you need for life and godliness I've given to you already. Jesus.
I would say right on. Let's say.
No. And then the next question is, now what are you going to do?
I mean, I'd take that and run with it. I'd have full faith. I would say, you know what? Whatever I'm needing, whatever I need is going to be at the end of this thread. And I'll run into it when I need to run into it.
Well, that's the truth.
Look at that.
That's
How
cool.
lucky are we, you know?
That's
We
cool.
are lucky dogs. In your case, a lucky bear.
Yes.
True. Is there any other questions you have?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I wanted to ask you, this is a burning question, and I have a few opinions about this myself. But I wanted to ask you, do you feel like anyone's born evil?
Yes.
Break it down.
Jesus said, and the Bible teaches, that the wicked were born for the day of destruction. That there are some people in this world that he knows, he created them anyway, but he knows will never, ever, ever accept him. And they were created for the day of punishment.
Do you think everyone's born evil? Do you think everyone is born with evil inside of them?
We're all born in sin.
Mm-hmm.
We all have the nature to sin, and we can't do anything but sin without Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a line in Scripture that says, many are called, but few are chosen. And people have a hard time with that. And I don't have a hard time with it. I've done my homework, and God calls everyone to be saved. He even calls the ones that were
Born for the day of punishment to be saved.
He still wants them to repent. He doesn't want to punish them, but he knows that the way they're hardwired, they can't. Right? They're just too selfish. And I think all of us have met someone that they're just you can't reach them. They're so far gone in their thinking, and their thinking is so dark that you just go, whoa, ooh, and you back off.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that the Bible is referring to, but that doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't call them. That doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't want to extend the opportunity to accept his love and to accept his salvation.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that are chosen, he knows ahead of time. You have to remember, he knows the end from the beginning, that he's not in time, he's in eternity, right? We're stuck in time and space. So he knows who of us are going to say yes to him. And so if I already know, if I have 20 people over here and I know that these 8 are going to say yes to me before they say yes to me, I can say they're chosen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I already know the end. It's not that I picked those 8 over the other 12. It's that those 8 are going to respond to me, so therefore they're chosen.
Well, yeah, in the end, those 8 are going to respond to me. So that's a really interesting perspective, truth. The fact that God does not live in a linear form of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people...
The Bible says he's omnipresent. He's everywhere.
A lot of people see tragedy, or maybe something they would hope to see divine intervene with in this world, and they'll say things such as, well, they'll have doubts about God, and they'll say, the whole if God's real, why didn't he jump in this? Why did he allow the Holocaust to happen? Why did he allow this to happen? Why did he allow that to happen? Well,
that's because...
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say that, but if this is if humanity, or and everything in his image that he created, is sort of a timeless project that he's throughout the beginning and the end, and it's everything is everywhere all at once, then that wouldn't be a thing, because there would be no perfect moment for God to jump in if he is eternity.
First, you have to understand that when he created this thing that we call the universe and Earth, he created principles, right? He created the dimensions of time and space. He created gravity. He created light. He created darkness. I don't know that he always set a limit for our lives, because I think when initially he wanted us to live a long time, and when the millennial kingdom is established again, the Bible says that if somebody dies at like 600 years, they're going to be, that's going to be a short life. So I think he's always wanted us to live, right? And he's always wanted us to live with him. But because he's not subject to the laws of creation, He's above them and outside of them. He intervenes into our reality. Now, why he chooses to intervene in some things the way that people thinks he should and not in other ways, that's a mystery, and that's why we say God's ways are mysterious. But you mentioned the Holocaust. Jesus was in the Holocaust. There was a lot of things that happened in the Holocaust that came out afterwards that where Christ was intervening. But a lot of times what God does doesn't get reported because, remember, and well, you can't remember if you don't know. If you understand spiritually that the world system, not the earth, not what God created, not trees, but the world system, the politics, the governments, the world system, that's run by Satan. That's under Satan's power. He's the prince of the air. So he's not going to let that stuff come out because that works against him trying to keep us from Jesus.
Right.
Because he is Jesus' greatest adversary. He wants to keep as many away from the truth as he possibly can. So when you take something like COVID, and people are saying, what do you mean? Of course it came from a lab in China. Of course, what do you mean you're locking down stores? What do you mean we have to sit 6 feet apart? People who have been around a little longer are saying this is ridiculous. We've never done this for any other flu or any other virus or any other anything. Why all of a sudden are we doing this? And they start suppressing anyone who starts talking like that, and they call it disinformation, they call it misinformation. But now, 4 years later, those people were the ones who were telling the truth.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of, man, the CDC and just people in general were like, it was like chickens with their head cut off. Like, they were just running
They were
around.
hostile. They were creating a hostile environment that if you didn't go along with the program, and then you were canceled. You were
Is the word divisive?
very much, and that's Satan.
Divisive, yes.
I'm
I'm
Go
so
for it.
sorry. I don't want to.
Go for it.
That's not funny.
Thank you. I'll keep the peace. I was gonna say that they say in the graphic design community or the video effects community that editing, in any way, is a hidden art. If it's done correctly, you won't notice it, or at least for
But it
correction.
can also be biased too, because you can edit out things that you don't want.
It's very
Or you
true.
don't want people to know.
It's very true. But I mean more in like a very linear sense in terms of, cohesion.
Oh yeah, you can see a bad movie and you can see the cuts and you're like, oh my god.
Oh my God. But in a good movie, you don't even notice them.
Right.
Would you say that God works in that way?
That he edits.
No. That in a good movie, you can't see the cuts.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
The truth is, he's already told us everything that's going to happen.
Right.
We're just catching up to it.
Okay.
And a lot of people think that the world is going to go on forever and ever and ever. Not this world. The Bible says very clearly, first it was destroyed by a flood. The next time it's fire. And you really don't want to be here. You just saw what happened in LA. You really don't want to be here for that. That's like
Yeah.
not good. And if you watch that, the fire just consumed everything. I mean, it was kind of awesome, but it isn't awesome if it's your property that's being burnt or your animals that are being
killed.
invaded.
Yeah.
But this, he knows this creation is going to be end in burning, and that is its fate. It's coming. And he also knows the day and the hour that all of that's going to take place. We don't know it, but he knows it. And there's certain things that have to happen before that. But anyway, if he's telling us in past tense all these things are going to happen, it's because he knows all these things are going to happen. So he also knows when he has to intervene into our reality to help us get like tweaked we're heading in the right direction, or so that we're okay, or so that we get on with what we need to get on. Now, he doesn't do that with everybody. He doesn't intervene with everybody.
Right.
If you've shot him the bird all your life and told him, to F off, he's going to let you go. He's going to say, okay, you don't want me, you don't need me, okay, bye. Have a good time. And then if something bad happens, oh God, why didn't you help me? Oh, now you want me? I mean, if you and I are, you were talking about people who you thought loved you, and then they turn around and they want you to crash and burn, and they want you to fail, and they want you to be miserable, and you're like, and then they come back and say, oh, Miggs, please, can you give me $100? I have $100. I got to pay my car payment.
Right.
And you're like,
right.
Really? Really? You're asking me for $100? You just told me you hope that I rot in hell. Why would I give you $100? Well, if you and I get that, why doesn't God get that? Why do we hold him to some other standard? Why should he not have feelings? Why should he not have rights? Why should he not be able to say, hey, you reject me, I'm sorry. He's thinking on that one.
I don't know this specific scene was in the Bible. Maybe John talked about it, but I'm trying to remember. Is there a part in the Bible where I think one of the disciples walks away from Jesus and he stands there and waits for them, and he kind of waits for them to come back?
I think you're talking about when he was restoring Peter when they were fishing. Is that what you're talking about?
I might be.
Peter denied Christ 3 times?
Yeah.
And, okay, so...
Wouldn't that be Christ and not God? They're the same. They're the same.
He was fully God. He was just in human form.
But wasn't Christ more forgiving? Oh, but God is for. Right. Okay. I'm thinking of Old Testament stuff. Because wasn't God very? Really?
Yeah. It's people who don't see that he's forgiven.
I'm
going to read the story for you, okay?
Because in the Old Testament, it seems as if he's more, I guess
wrath.
Yeah, like a wrath, wrathful.
They were always disobedient, so he always had to bring them back. They weren't being obedient; they were being disobedient. They were
kind of like
serving other idols and walking away from him and disregarding his commands and bringing all kinds of garbage into the temple and giving God their worst instead of their best.
And sacrificing stuff and
So,
you
you were supposed to bring a baby lamb that had no blemish, and they were bringing the sick and he said, would you serve this to your governor? Actually says that. I think that's pretty cool.
And also, at that time, the Bible wasn't really fully.
No, they only had 5 books. They had what Moses wrote.
And
that was it.
If you think
it was only in the temple. I mean, they barely had any synagogues or anything like that.
Wasn't there a point in time where certain people worshiped the golden cow?
Oh yeah, that was in the wilderness with Moses. Golden calf. Yeah, they took earrings and jewelry that the Egyptians had given them because they took all the wealth of Egypt when they left. And they took all this gold that the Egyptians gave them, and it says they throw it in a pot, and a golden calf leaped out.
Look at that.
Okay, so you want to hear the story?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm reading out of the Gospel of John, the 21st chapter. And Jesus is already dead and resurrected. This is the resurrected Christ, okay? It says, after these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 others of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we'll go with you. They went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just after daybreak, Jesus stood on the beach, but the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, Children, you have no fish, have you? They answered him, No. He said to them, Cast the net to the right side of the boat, and you'll find some. So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, It is the Lord! When Simon Peter heard it was the Lord, he put on some clothes, for he was naked, and jumped into the sea. But the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from land, only about 100 yards off. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it, and bread. Jesus said to them, Bring some of the fish that you just caught. So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore, full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, Come and have breakfast. Now none of the disciples dared to ask him, Who are you? Because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Feed my lambs. A second time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Tend my sheep. He said to him a 3rd time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter felt hurt because he said to him a 3rd time, Do you love me? He said to him, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Feed my sheep. Very, very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and to go wherever you wished. But when you grow old, you'll stretch out your hands, and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go. And he said this to indicate the kind of death with which he would glorify God. After he said this to him, he said, Follow me. Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following him. He was the one who had reclined next to Jesus at the supper and had said, Lord, who is it that's going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, Lord, what about him? Jesus said to him, If it is my will that he should remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. There's a whole lot I could go into. The Greek shares that the English misses. But the bottom line is what he was talking about was, Peter had already denied Christ 3 times, and Jesus asked him 3 times, Do you love me? Do you even love me, Peter? And 3 times Peter basically said, I like you, God. You know I like you. And the 3rd time he kind of says, Do you even like me, Peter? And Peter says, You know everything, Lord. You know I love you. What can I tell you? And then he commands him, it's no longer you doing whatever you want to do. Now you have to follow me. And you follow me regardless of what anyone around you does. That's the point.
Okay. It's a good story. It's pretty cool how, all those details of, it's 153 fish, it's the net to the right. It's a very detailed story about someone.
Well, the charcoal fire is important, too, because the last time Peter was in front of a charcoal fire, most people didn't have charcoal fires. They had wood fires. Wood was more common. He was in front of a charcoal fire when he denied Christ 3 times. And we have that memory sense. If you go to a barbecue, that pulls up a bunch of memories about a barbecue, right? The smells, right? Or if there's bacon frying or something that you like, it brings up images or brings up memories.
Yeah, smell. It brings back smell.
Right?
Is connected to memory.
Okay, so when he walks up and he starts smelling that charcoal fire, it doesn't smell like a wood fire, and it's going to take him right back to the fire he denied Christ in front of.
Mm.
And he has 3 times. He's asked, "Do you even love me?"
Yeah. So why I brought that story up is because you were talking about how God has feelings too, and that he could just walk away or not answer certain
Mhm.
things.
Yeah, he could have left Peter. He
But-
didn't have to show himself to Peter, but he did.
But does he always wait, even when you deny? Does he always wait for you to come back, or is
I think
Open?
it's a case by case thing.
Mm.
What I love about Christ is that it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's like you do not have to be exactly like Gail Phillips. Thank God. You don't want to be exactly like me. You want to be Miggs. You want to be the best version of Miggs you can be.
True.
And that's what he
Mhm.
wants. And I love to ask this question. I love to ask
Hmm.
like 13-year-olds this question. Have you ever seen a leaf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Gail. Okay. Is there only one color of a leaf?
Never. Never.
Nope.
So how many colors are there, Miggs?
Infinite.
Well, I don't know about that, but there's a lot, right?
Probably a good amount.
Are all leaves green?
No.
They're not.
Never.
Are they all shaped the same?
Nope.
So there's more than one shape for a leaf?
Yeah.
How many shapes do you think?
A couple.
More than 20?
Definitely.
Possibly.
Right? Maybe more than 100?
Possibly.
Little leaves, big leaves, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Medium-sized leaves.
Okay. Are there purple leaves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yellow
so.
leaves?
Yes.
Copper leaves?
Yes.
Red leaves?
Yes.
So you mean to tell me that when God created a leaf, instead of just making one green leaf that was shaped the same, he made a whole bunch of different sizes and shapes and colors?
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's only a leaf.
For all the different whoops, for all the different whoops, you need different leaves for. For every possible whoop, you might need a different
What's
leaf.
a whoop?
A whoop is. Let me break this down. A whoop is a term that could be used many ways. So
How are you referring to it now?
a situation. A whoop can be a situation. So for any situation that might require a different leaf is what I'm trying to say. But a whoop could also be an action.
Conversation.
Damn, we whooped. Like this is a whoop right now. We whooped on CatRoom today. Or they whooped me crazy. Like they did me crazy. Like if someone does something bad to you, be like they whooped me, bro. But
I don't use that language.
it's a me thing. But
So, if God cares so much about so many different colored and shaped and sized leaves, how much more does he care about you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If he is that detailed about a leaf,
He's the ultimate designer. Sculptor. I have this question that I haven't been doubtful about it. I just don't know. And this question has come up to me in media because I saw another conversation about suffering and how and God and Jesus and all that stuff. And this atheist or agnostic person asked if, okay, there can be a reason for God allowing suffering. I could see that. But what about animals that don't have any interaction with our world? Because our world, suffering is mostly from sin, you know? So what about the animals that suffer and eat each other and go through gruesome deaths just because of the cycle of life, not connected to us? From the what?
From the fall. That was never God's intention. That came when sin entered the world.
Right.
And in the millennial kingdom, it talks about how the lion will lie down with the lamb, and and it'll go back to how it was pre-fall.
So that's what I understood.
And in Romans chapter 8, you'll like this one, Yohan. It's talking about suffering. It says, I consider the sufferings of this present time are not worthy comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning in labor pains until now. And not only creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit grow inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. And what Paul's saying there is that creation, all the animals, the plants, everything that God made was subjected to the same futility because of our choice to choose sin.
Right.
But they will be freed when we're freed.
Yeah. Damn. Thank you, because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know when I saw that video and he pointed that out. I saw whatever Christian he was talking to at that point try to explain it, and it just didn't click for me. So, thank you. I want to... Because me personally, I was just like, okay, well, if we entered sin into this world with our choices, then it's affecting the world. We're destroying the world, you know?
Exactly.
And there's so many examples of that apart from us destroying ourselves, us destroying animals too. Like, you know, like just pollution and all of that stuff. So it's like the sin that was brought into his world doesn't just affect us, it affects the entire earth. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
We talked about leaves. Think about ecosystems. You know what an ecosystem is, correct?
Yeah.
Right? How many ecosystems do you think there are?
Millions? There's so many.
I don't know either. I don't know the number either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot.
Let's just for argument's sake say there's at least 1,000 different ecosystems, which I think there's more than that, but let's just say for argument's sake there's 1,000 ecosystems, right? That ecosystem, whichever one we're talking about, in itself is entire. It's complete, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we call it an ecosystem. It's complete.
Mm.
But yet, another ecosystem builds on top of that one, and another one builds on top of that one, and another one builds on top of that one, and another one builds on top of that one. This is the problem. Man comes in and has this great idea, and he goes and he destroys 2 of the upper ecosystems. That affects all the ecosystems below it.
Yeah.
Kind of like not endangered, what's it called? Like the iguanas here?
So I mean invasive.
Invasive species.
Invasive.
Yeah, like
They
that.
don't belong there. Like the lionfish.
The lionfish is those snails that leave the red eggs.
There's a lot.
Once you mess up one ecosystem, it affects all the other ecosystems that are connected to it. That's just science.
Yeah.
And I'm not science.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So if you think like
So,
strip mining,
so you're saying man is perpetually an invasive species?
oh, we're the worst.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have dominion. Dominion means that you care for it. We've raped and pillaged it.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen it as our own backyard and we can do whatever the fuck we want and who cares?
Damn.
With no accountability, no recourse. But
Yeah.
there will be a day of accountability and there will be recourse. But that's why Paul says that all creation groans, and creation was a lot better off back then when he wrote that. Can you imagine how it's groaning now?
Hmm.
Oh, there's farms. There's like stationary farms where animals don't even live lives anymore. They're just born to die.
or produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born to reproduce.
Born
and
to,
then
born
die.
to reproduce and then die. And geese were born to just have their gullets stuffed with corn to make a
Fat goose.
winter geese, or what's the word, foie gras,
Liver.
liver. That
Damn.
and have you ever seen it's like the liver is
It's a
white.
fatty liver.
It's so white. It's
Mhm.
white because of how fatty it is. They're usually red.
Wow. And you were talking about last episode about how animals have such a crucial role as much as us too.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's all connected. It's crazy. I like how the edges of your pages are gold. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He says in Genesis, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all wild animals of the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on earth. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over, and he repeats it. I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I've given every green plant for food. So in the Garden of Eden, all animals were vegetarian.
Damn.
It's after the fall that we start eating meat, and
Wow.
And other animals start eating
start
it.
getting.
So, wait, you're not vegetarian. You also eat shrimp, right?
I eat seafood.
Right.
You're pescatarian?
And dairy
Pescatarian?
and, a lot of things. I only. It's easier not to tell you what I don't eat. I
Yeah.
don't eat pork. I don't eat beef. I don't eat lamb. I don't eat poultry
Why not?
I think it'd be
for a lot of reasons.
pescatarian, because it's vegetarian. Like to eat eggs or milk or any of that, it's still vegetarian. And when you only eat seafood, yeah. Well, because
Because then vegan
would
is-
say no.
well, that's
True vegan has
that's
no
why you
dairy.
got that's why
That's
you
why
got
you have vegan-
vegetarian.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any more? Do you have more questions?
No, honestly, I'm blown away.
Really?
And everything. It was like I had these questions that I was like, nah, like these are real thinkers. And it was like not only did I get a beautiful answer, but it was like tied in a beautiful golden knot on a silver platter as well. It was like perfectly like understandable,
So
consumable.
did I make cracks in your smooth brain?
Oh, 100%. my once beautiful chicken breast looking brain is now cracked and ugly, but now it's very
Don't say
smart.
that, don't say that.
No, it's so smart now though. I feel so smart.
So my question then to you, Miggs, and Yohan, to you too,
Mhm.
and whoever comes up with the answer first can answer. What's your takeaway? What is the thing that you say, wow, that's interesting.
I have an answer already.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the last thing we were talking about that opened my eyes a lot more, because I love to have a reason and a why for what I believe in, you know, what I'm passionate about. So if there's something that I'm not fluent in, I want to become fluent in it. So realizing and you putting all those verses in the Bible together for me, it helped me create the bigger picture in terms of animal suffering. And it's so interesting to me on how specifically God gave animals with us and told us specifically, you have dominion over them. Basically treat them well. And as soon as sin entered the world, everything messed up. And then I understand the urgency and the doubt that comes with, why does God allow suffering? Why does God allow even animal suffering? And you put it together pretty well, and now I understand that it's all connected, and we just all have to be careful.
And the ecosystem, if God created all those ecosystems and we're destroying 2 or 3 layers of ecosystems, it's going to have harmful effects down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't not have harmful effects.
Wow.
Go ahead. What was your takeaway?
My
This is a
takeaway-
Chinese restaurant. What was your takeaway? Takeaway?
My takeaway, I find it very interesting that that certain people are born, God has the knowledge that they will reject him. Like it's almost predetermined. Or I guess set in stone is a better way to put it. Predetermined is more like it predetermined gives the air of
Fatalism, and it's not fatalism. They still have a choice. They still have free will. God never overrides our free will.
It's just that he already
No.
He knows how they're wired.
because he's omniscient.
Exactly.
Yeah, those two words.
Omnipotent.
No, omniscient.
What is omnipotent?
All powerful.
Omniscient is all knowing.
Powerful, all knowing, all present,
Was all present.
omnipresent.
Oh, there's so many of them.
Omniscient, omnipotent,
And omnipresent.
omnipresent.
Cool. Oh, since your questions are, since your hunger is satiated, I want to talk about something because I've never talked about this with you. What do you think about near-death experiences?
Well, you have to ask me a bigger question, and the bigger question is my understanding of spiritual realities, right? And I think spiritual realities are a lot closer to us than we understand or see. He veils our eyes because if we saw everything that was going on, we would be freaked out. Can you imagine if we saw all the wars and all the spiritual entities fighting and all this stuff? I mean, it would be too. We wouldn't be able to do anything. We would be like, So he keeps us in this world,
The material, yeah.
right? Because it's safer for us to just stay here. But every once in a while, he'll peel that veil back and he'll give us a glimpse of something that's supernatural or divine or greater than.
When you say a near-death experience, I've always had a trouble with that. There's this really fancy word I'm trying to use. I completely forgot it. Verbiage? I don't know. But I'm thinking like an experience that had you near death. But near-death experience is referring to when your body thinks it's going to die and DMT releases into your brain. Are you talking about that?
He's talking about when someone has flatlined and they've been flatlined for several minutes, sometimes more, almost up to 20 minutes, which science says that if you don't have oxygen in your brain for 4 minutes, you're going to be brain dead. But if God brings your spirit back, then you're not going to be brain dead because you're going to be fine, which is what happens.
Yeah.
But it's someone who, from their experience, from their perception, from where they sit, they have left their body, they have seen their body.
Yes, like ascended.
They have had an out-of-body experience. Sometimes they see a bright light, sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they see like their family.
A lot of times they can hear the conversation, they can hear the doctors talking, but they can't be heard, right? Because it goes back to the spiritual realm. And then they come back into their body. Sometimes they hear God say, no, you have to go back. Sometimes they don't hear anything. They just end up back and they've been resuscitated. And he's asked me, what do I think of that? I think it's absolutely positively possible. I think that God does that sometimes so that, because a lot of people don't believe in spiritual realities and they absolutely don't believe in hell. They don't believe in eternal hell. So I think sometimes he allows people, like a lot of them have been really on a bad path and had a near-death experience and come back and their whole life has turned around and they've preached Christ. And
Yeah. Do you think that's the most important way that God reaches people?
it's this,
Personal experience.
one-on-one.
One-on-one.
Right.
1-on-2.
Oh.
One on one.
1-on-1-on-1.
And I'll
mhm.
tell you why I believe that. Because Christians believe wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, Jesus is there in their midst. So if I'm speaking to you alone, let's say, Yohan, and you're a believer, Christ is still there with us, and so we're always in a majority.
Mhm.
So even if there's 500 people who are against us, as long as you and I and Jesus are together, we're good.
Mhm.
So, and we're supposed to make disciples. Making disciples means teaching people, and you have to have a relationship with them, and you have to care about them, and you have to know them in order to do that. You can't do that.
Can't just do. Yeah, you
You
can't
can't
just.
do that on Zoom.
Yeah, you can't just be like, hey, Jesus. Everyone's just gonna walk by that. You know, you have to touch their heart.
Yeah, he's a very personal guy.
Yeah.
He wants people to individually know how much he loves them.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you boys or gentlemen, you're
Mhm.
gentlemen, you're not boys, for wanting to have a conversation with me, and I hope
Of course.
that it was helpful.
It was.
Thank you for speaking with us, and I really appreciate you for entertaining my questions.
Yeah.
You kidding? I love questions. Ask Yohan.
Yeah.
Do I ever say too many questions, Yohan?
Nope.
Never, right?
And I'm glad that people get to hear what you have to say now, and what you have to say through God. You know, I enjoy that. I enjoy this. You know, this is amazing. I enjoy CatRoom. Thank you, CatRoomians. So we're gonna end the episode.
Well, CatRoomians, this was the 17th episode. In the comments section, I want you to say thank you, Gail. Thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
And the CatRoomian of the week is George.
George.
The CatRoomian of the week is George for being a busy bee.
Yeah, not answering
Being a
my
busy,
call.
No, but the only reason George didn't answer the call is because George is probably doing something very important with his life, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe now wasn't the time for him to take a call, and that's honestly, that's what I'm gonna send you guys off on.
And George, you're the GOAT. So.
Yeah, I want to send you guys off on this. I want to send you guys off with this.
Oh, look at that.
The air came on. Do something every day, and most importantly, follow that thread, because what you need when you need it will appear right in front of you.
I agree. See you later.
See you
We
later.
love you.